are
Hey,
strange,
hey,
you
hey,
are special,
hey,
and
hey.
you are dancing to live your best life, Queen. Yes, you are.
Amen to that.
Listen, if y'all only listen to the audio, y'all are missing out on a completely different experience watching the Queen do her thing. But welcome back to another episode. This is the M4 show, Melanated Married Millionaires in the Making. As y'all know, we are going through our rebrand, and it makes me cringe every time I listen
To the intro.
to the intro. We gonna get that handled though. But welcome back. My name is Devon Truvel, creator of Black Wall Street, the board game. And what hasn't changed is I still have my dancing, my original, my chef-orific just cooked some fire paella the
Oh,
other
tell him,
day
tell him.
on the grill.
On
You
the
know what I'm
grill.
saying? And some lamb sliders.
Those are fire.
Listen. Whew. But please introduce yourself before I reminiscing about this food.
What's up, everybody? My name is Sinclair, aka the Health Nerd, and I did indeed cook some fire paella on the grill. Shout out to my dad for showing me that recipe.
Oh yeah.
And yes, some delicious lamb sliders. And honestly, I had such a great time doing it. There was at some point where I was like dancing outside, going in and out of the like go inside and grab the oil and grab the broth and then go outside in the grill. And that was my first time ever using a grill. And I was joking with the king. I was like, how fitting that the first time I ever use a grill is to make paella.
Bougie.
You know, the average person is probably making some hot dogs, hamburgers, chicken, paella.
That's what I used the grill for growing up.
Basic.
I know. I don't know what I was thinking before I met you, Queen. Goodness. But Queen, what else should they know before we get into the episode? Hit them with the digit. No.
Did you
Damn.
did you know that emotional stress sends chemical signals to your body that triggers physical stress response? So sometimes when we think about stress, we think about, you know, maybe physical stress, like getting into a fight or an argument or a car accident or something like that. Those are all examples of physical stress. But did you know that that employee at work who commented on your hair, or that woman who went to touch your hair without your permission and you cringed a little bit, your body felt that. Your body felt that. That's a microaggression that your body feels and senses as physical stress and sees a moment of danger. And you know, for some of us out in the world, that happens more often than not, which is why it's so important for you to incorporate some type of stress management technique, some type of meditation, relaxation, breathing, yoga, whatever it is, painting, whatever it is, taking a bath, you know, figure out what that is for you and make sure, especially if you are out there in an underrepresented community, all my melanated folks out there, we go through a lot on a daily basis. So make sure you are intentional about managing your stress because it will catch up to you one way or another. So you got to make sure that you're being intentional about that. Take a couple minutes, breathe through your abdominal. That stimulates the parasympathetic nervous system that tells your body, I'm safe. We can calm down. We're at home. We can relax. We can rest and digest. So definitely make sure that if you are out there experiencing any type of emotional stress, you take some time to manage your stress on a daily basis.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Let me first off give you a round of applause
Thank
on
you.
that one.
Thank you. Thank you.
Because if y'all been listening, y'all know usually her did you knows come from left field, and I have to somehow connect them. But this did you know
On point,
was
right? I know.
right
I know.
right on point. That was beautiful. So this week I got to go to the Black Student Success Week. There's a whole week kind of centered around community college and talking about how do we support Black students. And the last topic that we ended with, shout out to Amanda, Moja, Dr. Bull, Dr. Banks, the whole team, Dr. Handy. All y'all do is a lot of dope work. But the last topic was Black tax, right? Heavy tax, right? Talking about how in America, even as a child, as a student, as a professional, like you kind of deal with that burden sometimes, right? It's a privilege, it's an honor to be African American. I believe so, but there's also some heavy burdens that come with it as well, right? So the person that we have coming, he's a heavy hitter, right? He talks about race. He talks a little bit about that Black tax. Talks about leadership within your family, leadership within your professional career. So we're gonna bring in Dr. Mayweather to talk to y'all about a lot of stuff.
A lot of stuff.
A lot of stuff. And I love this because before we got on here, he was like, I see this outline. Do we have to stick to the script? And we were like, nah,
Nah.
nah, we don't. Let's talk about it, right? So we're gonna have a really dope conversation. If y'all are watching live, feel free to ask questions in the comments. Y'all watch on the replay, put in the comments and we'll get back to it. But Queen, are you ready for the conversation?
I'm ready. I'm ready for the
Cool.
conversation, the knowledge, the wisdom that is about to happen right now.
All right. Well, without further ado, let's get into the episode. All right, we're out. All right, let's get into it. Welcome.
Hey. So I received the Dr. Mayweather energy. Still got chapters 4 and 5 to write. I was working on that this morning. I am on my way. Right, I am on my way.
Oh yeah.
I appreciate the love and energy.
Of course.
How y'all doing?
Hey, we are blessed in here. And you may hear some cheferific, beautiful stuff happening downstairs, but we appreciate you coming on. And I believe when we were doing our intro, you were saying how it's been a week. So some things have been popping off, and we were about to get into it, but then the episode was about to start. So I don't know if you want to get into a little bit of that right now.
In all honesty, I think it's an opportunity to talk about how important you being able to be your authentic self is. And so I think, Davon and I, Breathe You, community for under Eric Thomas, they've been talking about authenticity all week. And I'm a person who is very people pleaser. And I struggle when I have to have hard conversations with people that I know I want to please.
Yeah.
Right. And it's not just, not my wife or anything like that, but like I just want to make people feel happy and loved and like they are themselves, but also to my detriment. If it's in my community that I can't be authentic in, then it's also hurting me trying to please somebody else.
Yeah.
Right. And so that's what I've been kind of rumbling and, working through is kind of how do I speak my own truth in my own space, right? Because that's where you're supposed to be able to do that.
Yeah. And what did authenticity look like, or what didn't it look like growing up, right? Because I feel like personally, I dealt with authenticity issues probably more so in middle school, high school, maybe a little bit of college as well. Now I'm a proud self-proclaimed Black nerd. I'll be reading all type of books. I'll be diving into it. But I feel like in middle school, high school, that wasn't necessarily the cool or acceptable thing to do. So did you experience any of that battling with your authentic self growing up?
That's a great question. Actually, I don't think that was a thing until I became cool. Right. So my story is I was a big guy most of my younger years, but actually all the way through high school. Wouldn't consider like a slim. I was thick. If anything, brolic or not brolic, but like big. You know what I mean? Maybe even fat. Maybe you would call it that. Some people. And of course, freshman year you get the freshman 15. I think I'm more gained like the freshman 30.
Oh yeah.
And so I was like, I need to go on a health journey. Okay, I need to change my life. And so ended up losing over 100 pounds.
Wow.
And that's when I became cool. Right. And so now girls like me. Now guys want to know why girls like me. Now I'm getting attention that I never gotten before. So I'm losing myself in that a little bit. But when I was fat, I just was me, It was like I didn't have no worries trying to, impress anybody because nobody was ever looking for me to impress them. It was not ever looking for me to be that guy until it kind of happened. And then it's like, wow, um, there's some opportunities here that I've never had before. Just get lost in that,
Yeah.
especially with women, you know.
Mhm.
And so that was easier when I was young. Now it's like, holy moly, people have expectations for what I should do, especially, you know, getting a PhD, having a, you know, being a father, being a husband, being a homeowner, having a sense of education, polishedness, right? Like a lot
Mm.
of people expect for me to be like, I have it all together, when it's like, yo, ain't nobody taught me how to do this.
Mm.
Right.
You know.
So how did you find your way back? So you said, after you lost that 100 pounds, you had that kind of period of time where you were dealing with this new perception of what other people thought of you, and you trying to possibly meet that perception. But I would imagine there was a point where maybe you're looking in that mirror and you're like, okay,
Mm.
hold on, Dar, what's going on here?
Mhm.
How'd you find your way back to who you were, who you are?
I think I'm still finding it, you know, be totally honest. But I think it was one of those things where you have to recognize you're human. So for me, losing weight is not just about fitness, it's about addiction.
Mm.
And so I was ballooning up and down, up and down. You know, I
Yeah.
would lose and I would gain. I would lose, I would gain. And it was kind of that realization, like, dang, once you get big again, you're not that cool anymore. So then, what are you doing to validate yourself?
Mm.
And so, of course, in those time frames, I'm also validating myself with food and liquor.
Mm.
Those things that again makes me bigger,
Right.
right? And so I think it was trying to really figure out what's the balance. You know, how do I then find a sense of self, and also do the things I love, because I still love eating. I love food.
That's a
Okay.
fact.
Oh.
um, I like to hang out. I like to have a drink or two, you know. But I think it was also like, all right, how am I continuing to make sure that I'm putting the exercise in there or the wellness in there? Like you talk about that emotional stress that turns into physical embodiment of stress. So for me, I guess that looks like me trying to really tackle one issue when you got a whole life going on around you. Right? And those things just start piling up. The things that you normally did start piling up, or the things that you normally used to do, you start doing less of.
Mm.
And so I have to continuously kind of remind myself, like, yo, like this one problem should not consume my entire being.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because I got children, I got a wife, you know, I got my own body that I need to take care of. And those things are important too.
100%. Let's talk about the queen and the kids, right? Can we hear that story? Can we hear how y'all met?
Oh man, the queen. So that's one thing I remember Davon in our coaching calls. It was like, I love my queen.
Ah.
Yeah.
In fact, man, I love it. Yo, be, being totally 100. She was a grad student on the college that I was working at,
Mm.
and you know, I was mentoring these two young black men. Shout out to you know, Chris and Christian. And they were just amazing. Two men who always saw me as a mentor, even when I probably shouldn't have been.
Mm.
And you know, they always invited me to their programs. They were RAs, resident advisors. I was a hall director, and so we were going in similar career paths. And you know, I always said, like, I was busy, I had stuff to do. One time I'm like, all right, it's the end of the semester, I'm going to make sure I go to their program. Ended up being a sexual health workshop. You know, of course, I'm like, I ain't gonna miss that. All the wrong reasons, right?
Uh-huh.
Of why I'm
College.
going. Um, but in the reality is, it's all divinely intervened, because she
Mm.
walked in and she was the facilitator.
Mm.
And I had no idea, right? Like, I'm like, oh, a black woman is about to lead us, okay. And then she walks to this, you know, front of the room, and she puts this little suitcase on the table, opens it up, it's all these pieces, and then she just put together this like vagina statue, and it
Mhm.
was like that, like pow. I was like, oh, so she know what she doing too, right? And
Uh-huh.
so I actually was like trying to get her mentor, which was also my mentor, to give me like the inside scoop, because she had to
Mm.
leave early. and she wouldn't give it to me. So I'm like, I'm trying to ask all the questions that you can ask without really saying, yo, I want to get her number, you know?
Is she single? What's her favorite meal?
Was
Talk to
her
me.
man in the audience?
Where, what school she in? How, you know what days, she might be around there, like how, what programs is she working with? How can I, if it is, when's the next one? Like all these,
I love it.
And I guess I didn't see her again for like 5 or 6 months.
Wow.
Until we were hosting a conference, internal conference, so all programs within the school. And I saw a session. I'm like, maybe she's in the session, because that was the session for the program that she worked for. She was also leading that session, doing the presentation. I was like, oh, this gotta happen. Right? And so ends up, I'm a liaison for that program. So I go into the room, I see her presenting, she's doing her thing. I'm like, hey, like, I would love to connect. Let's do some lunch, see if we can talk about the program. We get to lunch, talk a little bit about the program, but I'm like, yo, I got a birthday bar crawl coming up like in 2 days. You want to come? And she shows up on time, right, with her friend, like, and like,
When you
so
say on time, so the party
on
started at
time.
what time? And this party started at what time?
Like the party starts at 5:00,
And she shows up when?
4:45.
Listen, that's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about.
Like she is in there, so we sit next to each other, right? Like ain't no space in between us. And her friend is like, hey, so why you throw my girl to pump fake? And I'm like, pump fake? I invited her. Right. I'm the reason y'all here. She like, she saw you at a program like 6 months ago, and she sent you an email and you never responded. Oh. So I'm like, oh really? And she like, well, I mean, and then she pulls it up. She's like, I normally don't do this, but and I was like, what? I look at my email. I'm like, I don't see nothing. I'm like, well, hey, and yeah, she, next thing you know, she had a drawer and she had a key,
and there was kids,
right?
Yeah, meal plan, and moved in together, and
meal plan.
The kid was coming next. So I had no idea. Pretty
That's
soon after that, actually.
Yeah. So the lesson here, everybody, is check your emails.
Check
your emails.
You never know.
The love of your life, that next opportunity could be sitting right there in your inbox, in your spam. Check your emails, y'all. All right. Yep. Oh man, that's great. All right, we're gonna get back to the episode in a second, but breathe. If you've ever had a brilliant idea, I'm pretty sure everybody just took a breath right there, right? Because we all have amazing ideas, but I got a question for you. What's stopping you from taking that idea and actually making it into a business, actually executing on your brilliance? My name is Devon Truvel, and in 2018, I was able to create, market, and sell my own product while still working a 9-to-5. And through the years, I've taken the lessons we've learned, the expensive webinars that I've gone to, and the dozens of business books that I've read, and I've discovered 7 simple steps to launch your business. If you're ready to take your business idea to the next level and make it real and start making profit from your passion, head to www.launchitcommunity.com and grab yourself the book. We've been able to make it very simple, affordable, and easier than ever to start that business while still working your 9-to-5. And we take entrepreneurs every single Friday and we talk to them. We teach them about how to use social media. We teach them about how to set up their Instagram account, how to use Shopify, how to use Printful, and other tools that can help you take your business to the next level, but not take tons of time away from your 9-to-5 and your busy life that you already have. So if you're ready to take that idea to the next level, make sure you head to www.launchitcommunity.com, get yourself a book, and join our free accountability calls. Now, let's get back to the episode. So I know y'all have a family business now, which is dope. Can you talk a little bit about that family business that all sprang from missing that one email to now, what y'all are building together as a unit?
Yeah, I appreciate even you saying that in that way, because I see it as that, and that's one thing I think she also feels as if she hasn't put in the work that I
Mm,
put in. But I'm like, I'm the face, so
mm,
if I have you doing more work than me, that makes no sense to me.
mm,
Um, but she actually is the driver, right? So the reason why I actually started this thing was because she sent me the video of the Breakfast Club when they had Gary Vee on the first day. So I think it was like May 2016, the first time, because I think he's done 3 or 4 interviews with them now.
mm,
And she just sent me that interview. She was like, yo, like this dude saying some stuff that I think you will hear. Like I think he talks a lot like you, and talk about like how Gary Vee talks about like passion, right? And how
yeah,
passion can drive innovation, which can drive financial wealth, right? Just doing something you love, right? And so I was at a point where I was doing something that I love, but not under people that I liked,
mm,
right?
yep,
And it was stifling,
yep.
going through actually a whole career of just feeling like not really having the people who could support me and the vision that I have for my own life, right? And so it was one of those moments where I was like, all right, I'm gonna start a business. Bump it. I can speak on diversity. That's what I've been doing. Actually, what I'm not necessarily would say I was speaking, because I was more like teaching.
Hmm. And
I
how
was
many
a
years
hall
did you
director.
work? So I want to zoom in on how many years did you work that 9 to 5, that job where you were feeling, like, I don't know if I want to do this. I don't know if this job matches my vision. How long was that period of time?
Um, so I got my master's in 2009. So from 2009 to 2016 was the years in which I was like in limbo about my career, but always feeling like I had more that was available to me with my talents. Just didn't know what it was. And so I will say a good 7 years of just trying, just still staying to the grind. Like, not, I can't not pay my loans, right? I can't not live. I can't not go see my mama. I can't not use this degree that I done spent all this money on. So I'm gonna do what I can with my career. But 7 years of just working 9 to 5, coming home from work, and like literally reflecting, figuring it out, trying to seek therapy, seek advice, find guidance, mentorship, conferencing. I mean, I tried it all to try to figure out the theme that was out there for me.
Mm,
Um, and thank God for this conference, right? Where
mhm,
I met some people that I had saw in person do some speaking, right? But never met them in the profession until they were doing a session about being a diversity consultant, speaker, or coach, and what it takes. I'm like, oh, I'm gonna go. This was this is 2 years before I even decided to start a company.
Mm.
And seeing somebody that talked in the way that I felt good about the work, hearing somebody look, or seeing somebody look like me
mm,
that was doing this work, and also somebody who is like a pillar of a community, being like, you need to, one, know yourself, know what you want, know what you're trying to do, but then also you gotta go do it. Like, you gotta go learn how to be a speaker, you gotta learn how to be a coach, you gotta learn how to be a consultant, right? And the only way to learn is to go out there and actually do the work.
facts.
And so on my campus, I took every opportunity. You want to bring me in and talk about race with students, with staff, with faculty, with executive leadership? Didn't matter. I'm going to take it. I'm going to run with it. I'm going to do my best with it. Got so good at it that they stopped trying to bring me on to do those things,
Mm,
because I was speaking too much truth,
Mm.
that's real.
right? And when you work for an organization, you're a staff member, you don't have intellectual property like faculty, right? You're not protected. And
Mm-mm.
so you're at the will of the university.
Mm.
And so the university doesn't want to see its its members talking bad about it.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
And that was me. And so, of course, like we can't have Dar leading these 200, 300 person conversations after a racist incident. We can't have Dar on the podium in front of thousands of people talking about what's happening around these racist incidents, because he might incite some people to do
Yeah,
something
Dar about to start a
they don't like.
revolution up in here.
Right.
Yeah.
I just speak truth.
Yeah.
Right. That's just
What was
it.
the final like piece? I very much resonate with
Very much.
with what you're saying, and maybe I'll get into that, later. But
Mm.
I very much resonate with the like having to go someplace where you didn't feel like you belonged, and just put it this way. After I left my situation, I now feel free enough to be able to talk about how I truly feel without feeling like, oh my gosh, like who's watching this? Like,
Right.
is someone gonna stop me at work? Like, all that stuff. But what was the final kind of piece for you? What was the final straw that's like, I can no longer do this. I'm out. I can't do this anymore.
So the semester, and this is what my dissertation is about. It's about anti-Black racist incidents on college campuses. So we had one semester of 7, and when the conversation shifted from students doing a sit-in and them being potentially expelled for a sit-in, and then I get called into a room to point these people out, right? And then I decide not to, and that turns into maybe 50, 60 students, turns into, okay, we're just going to expel 4 students. I was like, I don't think my values are aligned with the work that is happening in this community. And so I ended up taking a $40,000 pay cut to become a college student leadership faculty member, right, as a teaching fellow. Since I was already
at the same university.
At the same university. With a child, with a house, with a wife who likes teens.
I know about those.
It was a huge leap of faith for us, and I think that's what makes her a bigger part of this story than anything, right? Is every decision that we made for us to be in this position, she not only okayed it, she was pretty much a catalyst of it. And so, because she saw I wasn't happy, going to work, sitting in the car, just looking at the steering wheel for an hour. Wow. It's not happy. Yeah. And so teaching leadership full time when making $16,000 a year made me happier than making 60 something working as a staff member.
Yeah. Crazy. So huge shout out to your queen over there for holding you down, right? Shout out to all the queens out there for holding their kings down.
Shout out to the queens.
Yes, man. that's huge. And now y'all are building your own business, right? Building your own empire where your values are 100% aligned, right? You can live free, as the queen said, feel that weight off of your shoulders. So huge congrats to you and your family for taking that leap. Can we talk about doing the good work? Can we talk about the good work that y'all do? He said yes, please talk to me about it. So yeah, can you tell the people what doing the good work is and kind of the speaking engagements or the work that y'all do out there?
Yeah, shout out to all the folks who do diversity work, who support underrepresented peoples out in the community, even when you don't get paid to do it, right? And that's where this came out of. I was tired of not getting paid, right? To do good work in communities. I wasn't the best. I ain't gonna say I was the best speaker. I'm a pretty good facilitator. I think I'm a pretty good teacher. But the reality was people was having, just eye-opening moments doing my work. And so I'm like, how come everybody else can get paid but me? Especially what I feel like I'm worth. And so started the company. The wife got behind me. I created a website. She was like, "This is terrible."
Keep it 100 with me, Queen.
Keep terrible.
Resonate with that.
And she redesigned the first website.
Hold on, you resonate with what? Making horrible websites? Hold on now. Soon to be Dr. Mayweather. You resonate with me making bad websites? What's going on
Not
here?
websites specifically. You're just, the design eye is
it's not quite
your
there.
forte.
That's not me.
It's okay.
Okay.
We all have our
you opening up some wounds over here.
Yo, I'm just telling truth.
Oh, that's
telling
funny.
Truth.
Mm-hmm.
And we ended up making 30,000 in our first year.
Yes.
So we was ready. We was ready.
Yeah.
She was like, "All right, yo, your strategy ain't working. I saw this training. It costs $5,000. You should buy it." I said, "What do we got? $5,000? I literally taken a $40,000 pay cut in like 3 days." And she was like, "Just buy it." My email list went from 0 to 700 in like a day.
Wow.
Right? Wait, what was the strategy? Rewind.
It was at the time where free resource libraries was like cool, right?
Mm-hmm.
So folks is like, "All right, yo, if you need a free resource, you come to my library, you get access to it. Anything that I do, create, and you'll have access to it forever." And so ended up creating some stuff around race and racism, especially in a time that the profession wasn't really talking about it. And so people needed resources, people needed help, people needed support, people wanted to do activities. And so I just created like 5 or 6 worksheets with directions on, facilitation guide, and put it out there in the perfect communities that will want it, right? That will also be able to book me to speak.
Nice. So I do want to
boom.
Beautiful strategy. Right? I'm gonna go ahead and be inspired by that, soon to be Dr. Mayweather. Can you talk a little bit about either one of those worksheets, or maybe if there's parents that are looking to have that conversation about Black tax, about race, about being a Black man, Black woman, Black individual in America? What would that worksheet look like? What's that parent facilitation guide look like?
Oh yeah. Well, first I'll say shout out anybody who out there who's listening to this, who's like, "Yo, I want to start a diversity business and you need some help, you want some coaching, you want some free resources, get on my email list, doingthegoodwork.com, right? /DEA, Diversity Entrepreneur Academy." Had to send that out there, right? Because we're doing that, right? Yeah. So for me, the work really starts with knowing what you're talking about. So a lot of people, and I'm gonna try to keep it very like elementary. A lot of folks have deep level conversations on race, but don't have a working definition for the term. Okay, so like then we start adding more complex terms: racism, white supremacy, white normality, right? Microaggressions we talked about, but don't have working definitions for these terms. And so how do we know what we're actually talking about? How we know we're actually having the same conversation? And so one of the first resources that I created was a racial definitions worksheet, right? That help people before you start going into the conversation. And this literally happened to me. So I'm in the job, a protest happens, students get arrested. We come back, students want to have a panel with the staff members who were all involved to just know what's happened in this situation. We agree to it. Everything's going good until, well, not good, because let me not say that. Things are all right until one of the students stuck their hand up and said, "Hey, so we're talking about protest. What's your definition of it?" And all the professionals like, making up all this stuff, really nothing of critical examination, right? Nothing that people are eating up. And so I get up and I'm like, you know what? I don't have one.
Mm.
And I probably should have had one as I prepared for this conversation. And now that I actually am saying that, I don't know if I actually have the ability to even support you all in this space like I should have.
Mm.
Right? That's what having a definition of what the work that you're supposed to be doing does.
Yeah.
Right? It gives you ability to say, all right, I know what this means. Now, what does it mean in my work? Right?
Right.
So for parents, it's I know what this means, but now what does it mean when I'm having that conversation with a 4, 5, 6, 7-year-old, first grader, first through 6th, 7th, 8th grader? What does it mean to you? Right. And it's not just like Westers, races or racial construct in which that blah, blah, like it's not that. It's when you're parenting, it's all right. When I was my son's age, which is 7, my mom taught me about race by watching Roots.
Mm.
For him, it's watching Blackish, the Juneteenth episode, right? And having conversations from that. And so, what does it mean to have a racial identity? Is, well, your friend Arlo or whoever, Carl, Jim, Sammy, Sally, right? Is
Yeah.
white. I am black. Therefore, you are my child. So, what does that make you?
Mm.
Right? Even to the point where my son, again, he's fair skinned. So he thinks, I'm as light as some white kids. And so I don't know what I am. And then I have to say things like, I'm black. I don't have any white children. So what are you? Right?
Mm.
To him. So he knows, right?
Yeah.
Because I'm proud of that. And I want to show you more reasons as to why I'm proud of that. Right. And we go into talking about grandma and mama and great grandma. We got to get, we get a chance to talk about all these black people that I think are amazing. So that's what it means for me when I'm talking about it with a child. Right. But I have to have my own working definition of that first.
Yep. And so a different kind of conversation is sparking in my head. And if you want to swerve, feel free.
We out here.
We out here. All right, cool. But it's that sense that more and more, I think biracial children are being born in America and around the world, right? So within your household, how do you still have that sense of, I think, black identity? Like, how do you put in that black identity without possibly downsizing any other identities your child might have or other children might have, right? How do you talk about race without, I think this is the conversation always comes up, right? How do you have that black power, that black love, but not dismiss other cultures at the same time?
I'm going to answer this question delicately. Delicate. I think the idea of black power and joy automatically incites the belief that we are anti other identity, right? And so the anti-blackness in which that the country treats the world, right? Not just the country, but the world treats blackness, has us with this idea that my pride somehow takes away from someone else's value. And it's my job, right, as an educator to say, like, one, the system has created this psychosis that makes us believe that black power is a bad thing. When in reality, anytime black people won in the country, literally, the country won. In reality, right, we can talk about the civil rights movement. We can talk about civil wars. Anytime black people win, the world has won in America. Yeah. And so the thought process is hard for me to even fully engage, because the reality is my son needs to know his power. Right? Because that could save his life.
Mm.
Um, and if he's walking through the world with this idea that he's not the man that he should be, right, or should become, who I expect him to be, the standard in which that I have for him, that could be the difference between him getting, pulled over by a cop and believing he's a criminal because we know the cop is going to treat him like that.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Feeling like less than because he's not white. Right? And that can come out in his behavior. And so I need him to walk around like a king. Right?
Yep.
And it don't take away from the fact that we got other kings of other races.
Yep.
Right? Just like the same with the Black Lives Matter, All Lives Matter conversation. The reality is people are uncomfortable with saying Black Lives Matter because they literally compare it to everybody else's life.
Mm.
And so since you are comparing it, you believe that your response should be, no, all lives matter. Right? When the reality is nobody else said nobody else's life didn't matter.
Mm. Listen, doing the good work. Y'all need to go to doingthegoodwork.com, tap in, learn a little something. Give this man his PhD already. Quit playing. Right? Yeah, well said right there. Queen, I know I've been kind of just going down a very random rabbit hole. We've thrown this outline completely out the window. I want to throw it to you to see if you have any questions. My bad. Go ahead. Do you think, Queen?
No, I don't necessarily have. Well, I guess I do. I'm wondering because you did say that your son is fair skinned. I mean, and looking at the two of us,
where is this going, Sinclair?
I love
looking
it.
at the two of us, right? We have a wide array of the spectrum covered here, on the melanation spectrum.
Yes, the melanated rainbow.
There we go.
Yes.
And who knows what our children will look like. But that has been something that we've talked about, something that we've discussed on, like, I mean, we've had a whole bunch of different conversations, but
Facts.
One of the things that I'm thinking about are, like, what are some of the complexities that you do have to deal with, having a array of melanation in your household. Because if I think about my household, we're all not the same shade, but relatively around the same shade. So that wasn't really ever a thing in my household. So I can't say that I've ever, like, I know how to navigate that space in a household, right? I may know how to navigate that space in a friendship or in a relationship, but I feel like that's a different type of conversation, a different type of, dynamic in a household. So I guess I'm just curious how, like, have there been any situations that come up? I know that there's, like, in truthfully, like in TV shows and things like that, you have things like where a child may be, like, mistaken for another person's child or something like that. Like, what types of things, like, if you don't mind sharing, like, what types of things have you experienced and how have you navigated through that?
Yeah. Shout out to my best friend. He lets me in on these conversations because his children are on the declare spectrum. If
There
we
you
were
go.
saying the declare, is that a perfect preference? Is that perfect?
Yep.
The declare, right? And he lets me know how sometimes people come up to his light-skinned daughter and talks about how beautiful she is and all that stuff, and then how to his darker skinned daughter, none of that, right? No cute, special, none of that. And I see it's it's our job, my job. So when I talk to both of them, I say, oh, you look so beautiful as ever, right? And they both like, right? Because it's my job to let them both know, right? They are beautiful and special, and I don't even have to say in their own way because they're beautiful and special, right? I see in my home, my son, he has been in schools where primarily white children. He has made friends close associates with primarily white children. And so I think it was one of those I got the feeling that he was less than.
Mm.
And I had to make sure that he understood the pride in which that he comes from. And we drilled it in February, especially, right? Like we drilled it in. And he also recognizes the difference between, I think, having friends who are Black and friends who are white. He's starting to see those differences. And so it's having a conversation about the community and how people treat, you know, but then it's like with the colorism issue, we haven't gotten to that point because he hasn't had really a darker skinned friend in our home, right? Or not in our home, but in our community and our family. He hasn't made that. But I think it's one of those, for me, for us, it will be one of those conversations I'm sure we'll have, especially as it relates to darker skinned women. Because I think my son likes girls, we haven't explored that yet, right? But what I want him to know is like the world will tell you that darker skinned people are uglier, right? Because they're Black, one, like the anti-Blackness, but also like there's just a hate for darkness because the opposition is always seen as white, which is right, which is light, which is love, all these good connotations that he will learn through the media, through cartoons, through books, comic characters, right? All of that stuff, right? Like it's everywhere, the dark versus light, ideology. And so it's making sure that when it comes to women or men, even, in friendship, that we don't allow people to treat them as others just because of their skin color, right? I had one of those moments, again, why the mentor that I begged to take me on had taken me on because he corrected me, right? In a way that, we are all Black men. We were in the Black space. And he's had me know that I allow others to treat Black men less than me, right?
Oh, talk
Because
about
I
that.
was special, right? Oh man. Woo. And thank you for this question, Sinclair, because like, and a lot of times we don't put ourselves in position to be corrected. Right. And I think when you're going on a journey of transformation, you're talking about not just, careers, not just talking about health. Not just talking about business, right? We talk about families as well. These are all transformative experiences. And if you don't have somebody who can correct you, like my wife telling me your website is trash, right? Like mom, right? Like I'm in a situation with my old job and I'm like not happy and I'm having my wife tell me, no, you deserve to be happy and that means you might have to leave this table, right? Like having a mentor who's saying like, yo, like you're special, everybody sees that. What you don't see is that everybody doesn't treat people that look like you like that, right? Those are transformative moments. And so if you want the transformation, you got to be in spaces to be corrected. And I'm thankful that we have created a household that allows for that because I am trying my best to be more expressive, right? As a man, you grow up and you're supposed to be this, machismo, man, no feelings, no emotions, you know what I'm saying? Like you got to be like, big boys don't cry, all that stuff, but my leg is broke. You know what I'm saying?
Really,
Just my leg is like literally just dangling. You know what I'm saying? My lip busted, but I'm supposed to just be like, all right, I'm good, right? And that's the ideology that I literally absorbed.
yeah,
And I held on to that for years, almost, to the point of, death, my own detriment, my family's detriment. Right. And so being able to really be in those spaces to have people that see you, right, and see where you're trying to go, because that's the reality of what these corrections are, right, is they see where you're trying to go. And so you gotta allow for it.
Yeah.
I know that was a tangent, right? We went from colorism to talking about correction and getting, mentorship. But I guess I just say I welcome the challenge. I haven't gotten to that colorism conversation yet in our household, well, at least with my son.
Okay.
Yeah. And over here, so I said literally when you said to breaking your leg, because literally I broke my leg in football. This was in high school, right? And the coach, they thought it was a sprain, so somebody drove me home. My dad thought it was a sprain, so I just sat in my bed and I laid there all night,
Oh,
but with a broken
Lord.
leg, elevated, and it was painful. And then finally we went to the hospital the next day, and the doctor was like, yeah, this is broke. Where were y'all? Where have y'all been? They're like, oh, we thought it was just a sprain. He was okay. I wasn't really like crying like that. I was like, I'm gonna rough it out. But yeah, literally had a broken leg all night long.
That when you got the rod in?
That is when I got the rod in my ankle. That's still there. But I wanted to zoom in on something that you said earlier. One, you were saying how it's your responsibility to tell your daughters how beautiful they are, how amazing they are, how
My
special
nieces, these are my
your
nieces.
sorry.
Yes.
And it's your responsibility to, have that conversation with your son when it comes, and you didn't make an assumption on, who or what he would like, which I love and respect. Can you talk about responsibility as a father, as a parent? Just talk about what it's like to be responsible or to be a leader within your household.
Yeah. Well, I'm learning, right? And I think one, it is responsible of me to not assume what my son's sexual identity is, because he has to decide that, right? I think that is also what people think what a man, especially a black man, should be. When you have boys, is like to produce heterosexual men who come out and keep the legacy. And of course, like, I'm heterosexual, so I want him to be like me, right? In every way. So I'm a teacher, I'm an educator, I'm a businessman. I have my own home. I have, our cars are paid off, right? We have made many investments that have done well for us. So of course I want my sons to have that type of abilities, right? Like, we have our account sitting is open, like, we are good with our account, right? So good that my wife was able to leave her job.
Come
and
on.
we feel comfortable, right? So yeah, of course I want him to be like me, but I think it's also responsible for me to say I don't know what that is, because that allows for me to get to know him,
his authentic him,
who he is, who he chooses to be, how he chooses to be, and allow him space for that. One time he was being bullied at school, and it's part of me that wants to, hey, is this live? It's part of me that wants to be like, son, like, throw them blows. But his response was, he was just going through something. And sometimes he goes through things, and his behavior is reflected in that.
Sheesh. How old your son?
Right.
7.
Is wise beyond his years.
Right.
I'll tell you that right now.
7, right? And so that was the first time that I had to come. I'm the one mad, right? Like, and I ain't even get hit.
Right. Like, let me pull up to the school.
Right.
Hold up.
Right. What's his name again?
Where Jimmy at?
Yo. In sweatpants and a t-shirt.
What's popping?
And so I think that's the responsible thing, is to, like, allow your kids to be them, right? As a man, I don't know, and again, this is me just saying it off of my own experience, because I didn't have a man in the household. My father and mother didn't make that work, didn't figure it out, and so this is me just with my own little education and my supportive wife and amazing mentors and mothers who have just guided me. And this is me making those decisions, right? And trying to be like, hey, like, I of course want you to have all the things that I have, but also I want you to know how important you are, right? And your whatever you do, I want you to feel unconditional love, right? Like, I still kiss my sons, and that's because I want him to know, like, unconditionally, it's nothing that he can do that will stop me from loving him.
Mm-hmm.
And so yeah, that's I think that's responsible now, right? Before it was like making sure my son make it to the league,
Yeah.
but that's not important.
I think it's interesting, and what this brings up for me is again another tangent, but how the role of the parent and responsive like what responsibility looks like as a parent has changed over the years, and how it looks now versus how it looked for like maybe the baby boomer generation and like their parents, to where I feel like maybe, and again, I don't know. I was born in 94. But what I imagine is that, previously the role of the parent was to put a roof over the child's head, right? And to make sure that there was food on the table. Kind of the basics, right?
Mm-hmm.
But they're, like the conversations I know, and like going back into my family history when we talk to like Nana and things like that, is there really wasn't any conversations happening, like even within the family. There's a lot that we don't know because it wasn't talked about.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that it's interesting as we're rolling in now, and now that our folks in our generation are having kids, there's so much conversation that we are having with our children, and that I think we are responsible to have with our children, because otherwise we're kind of just tossing them into this world, and it's a scary world out there if you haven't had the chance to have these conversations about what it is to be Black, what it is to be, and wherever, to love whoever you love. Like, no matter who you love, there's a conversation that needs to be had there. So I think that it's important to have those conversations, and I think that it's almost a responsibility now as parents to have those conversations, early on with your kids,
Yeah.
so that they don't have to find out, one, the hard way, or two, find out from someone who is going to tell them based on how they see them versus how they should see themselves, if that makes
Mm.
sense.
Yeah, I mean, ooh, I wouldn't. I'm trying to even myself not to talk about Black folks in the deficit, right? Like, because we have survived
Mm,
for many generations off of different types of love, right? And so you have the post civil rights love, which is very different than the digital age love. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The hashtag activism love is very different than the protesting in the streets love. You know what I
mm,
mean? Like it has to be right. The information age has allowed for parenting to be evolved in a lot of ways, whereas um, there was information intentionally left out from generations of Black
Facts.
people,
Facts.
right? Whereas they could only do the best that they could with the information that they had,
mm,
right? And that's usually information that is steeped in historical context that might not apply, right? Let's say that, right?
yeah,
Just thinking about like going to get the switch,
Mm.
mm,
whew, like that was a norm,
yeah,
right? Go and get your own switch.
Yep.
Now it's time out,
Yeah.
right? Go stand in silence in the corner or whatever, right? You don't
Leave
get
your phone.
right.
your phone.
Yep.
um and again, not saying that one love is better or worse for whomever. It got generations to where we are,
Mm-hmm.
right? But also recognizing like you can get beat in your house or you can get beat in the streets by a cop just because you walking in the wrong place at the wrong time, and you not be prepared for that can get you killed.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
Which is that's not necessarily all that is happening right now, right? Like my grandma is from Tupelo, Mississippi, right? So like
From where?
Tupelo, Mississippi.
Tupelo,
Tupelo.
Mississippi. Oh my goodness.
Tupelo,
Okay.
Mm.
right? Oxford, Tupelo area. And yo, like that was a different time.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That was a different time. And so yeah, it's different. It's definitely different. I wouldn't say better or worse, but I think it's still love.
Mm-hmm.
100%.
Also,
If you're just now tuning in, we are here with Dar Mayweather from Doing the Good Work. Y'all can check him out at Doing the Good Work on Instagram to tap in, learn more, keep the conversation going, show him some love by going to www.doingthegoodwork.com. Get yourself some good resources to talk about race, talk about diversity within your
And
household or
business.
and business. Yes, entrepreneurship, business, building your own business. Love it.
my name is Sinclair, and I'm a functional diagnostic nutrition practitioner who has created a program that takes a deep dive into your hormone levels and your overall metabolic health to create a highly personalized weight loss protocol that will have you lose up to 30 pounds, gain energy, and have you feeling so good that you go into the back of the closet and pull out that freakum dress. We all have one. So if you are ready to invest in the last weight loss program you will ever need, go to queen2queencoaching.com and book a discovery call to figure out which queen to queen package is right for you. Talk to you soon.
This is our time to give you a little bit of a break because we've been chucking questions at you left and right. You've been doing your thing. Appreciate you. But now is your time to ask us a question. This is our Ask Declare segment. You can ask us a question about our relationship, about health, about business, or if we want to do go into the deep waters and do a diversity race talk, that's cool too. I know that could get interesting.
I
But
just
yeah,
want. Oh, is it me? Is it on me?
oh
Okay, yeah.
yeah.
Mhm.
I just want to know like what inspired you all to like build a platform for folks to talk about relationships, money, and what was the thing that inspired both of y'all, right? Because like that's the key is both of y'all are standing in front of the camera,
Mhm.
and so I would love to hear what was the inspiration for that.
Oh yeah. I'm going first.
Mhm.
Okay. So we started with True Health Forever, and I'll let her kind of talk about the start of it, but how we're pivoting to the M4 show, Melanated Married Millionaires in the Making, is because, in my opinion, love and building a strong black family is the most revolutionary thing you can do, right? Because there's so many things that are trying to pull black families apart, pull black men apart, pull black women, like whatever it is. But I feel like if you can come together, build a family, pour love, pour that unconditional love into your sons, into your daughters, into your family, have that house, build that business. Like that's love. That's the dream. And I think that's the black American dream. So for this show, we want to highlight that as much as possible. We want to make it normalized to have a healthy relationship. We want to make it normalized to be investing in yourself and chasing your dreams. The fact that your queen backed you 100%, was like, nah, leave that job. I believe in you. Invest in that $5,000 course. We're going to build this business. That's a story that we want to hear over and over
Mhm.
again all across America, right? Just two people coming together, loving each other, and willing to bet it all on each other and build that family together. So that's what the M4 show is all about. And that's why we come here every week. We're going to keep coming here every week to amplify, your stories and other stories out there to make this life normal.
Yeah. But to kind of talk on what made us start this is again, it did start as the True Health Forever podcast, which if you're hearing the intro, it's still
It's
there.
the residue is still
Yeah,
there.
yeah, yeah, little words do. But what made us start the True Health Forever podcast was really us looking at our own life. And we were at the point where we were not engaged at the time, but this was pretty much right before we got engaged, but we were pretty much committed to each other. Like we knew like this is my partner
Mhm.
for life. Um, and so we we started to have we were having those conversations about marriage, about family, about kids. What does our future look like together? And so that also brought up like looking at our families, looking at like where are we, what our families look like, and we looked at kind of health being one of the big struggles that both of our families deal with, and so we decided like one of the things that we are going to do as we start our relationship and the roots to our future family is roots, um is we want to make health a pillar of that family. We want to be proactive about creating a healthy, strong Black family that is intentional about being healthy. Because I do believe in the, like, if you're not intentionally, the saying, like, if you're not intentionally trying to become wealthy or rich, you might accidentally be broke. I believe the same thing with health. If you're not intentionally trying to be healthy, you could accidentally end up sick. So I think we wanted to be intentional about building health into the fabric of our family. So that had to start with the two of us. We weren't like, okay, well, we'll wait till have kids and then we'll get healthy. We were like, no, we need to do this now so that when we do want to start a family, it's already a part of our culture. So that's really what started True Health Forever as a brand. And then it really just evolved into, and podcasting was his idea. But I kind of went with it because we were already having these conversations.
Listen, episode 1 through 20, sweat from the queen. Like,
oh yeah.
Hello, I'm Sinclair.
Yeah, so I'm the high C, or the introverted one. So this is it's a stretch for me.
Yeah, now you popping. Let's go. Now you on here.
I'm definitely getting more comfortable in just talking, and talking off the dome. That's what it is for me. But yeah, I think podcasting was an easy next move because we were already having these conversations. So it was like, wow, how do we bring in other folks to this conversation? How can we make it so that other folks can hear what we're talking about and we can amplify our voices? So that's how the podcast started. And right around episode 100 is when we started to kind of evaluate and see, is this where we want to continue? And that's really what brought on the rebrand. Is, all right, we're focusing a lot on wealth, so why don't we just make it a wealth focused podcast? And in comes M4.
Boom. He's like, yeah.
I love it. I love it. That is one of my dreams as well, is to be on a platform with my wife, where we do our thing, right? And we do what we do. And that's a goal. That's a goal. We've been practicing. Ain't nothing been released. It's been practiced.
Yeah. Listen, we're gonna bring you back so y'all can practice together on the M4 show, right?
Have a little practice right here.
Yeah,
I would love it. I would love it, and I'm sure she would entertain the conversation.
There you go. Just bribe her with some food beforehand. That generally works.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
But what? Maybe one last question for you. As you and your queen, you said you're building a business, possibly a platform to talk about what y'all are doing. Can you talk a little bit about just your family strategy for building wealth? Right, because that is a lane that we are trying to focus in on. We talked a great deal today about family, leadership, and race, but I do want to kind of leave folks with a little bit of insight into maybe your own personal strategy on how y'all plan to build that wealth out.
Yeah. So yeah, I will definitely do this because I know I got it. She done came in the room. That was hers. So let me.
You gotta go.
Right.
So one, I think the family has to understand the mission. Right. Everybody has to understand what their role is at that moment, or in those moments, or in the timeline, or whatever the goal is. And so for us, we need an anchor first. Right. And so the anchor was us deciding that I would go back to get the PhD, because the work that I do would solidify and give me more credibility as a speaker, coach, consultant, for diversity and inclusion, with a doctorate, right? And so that's number one, having an anchor. Number two is not being afraid to put work out there. And so what is your good work, right? And doing it in a time that is for free until you can get paid for it, right? Until you find out who has that need, and the need that the problem that you solve. And then you go for it, right? And you go for it with clear-cut commitment and conviction. I think the third thing for us, what happened, is making sure that we make smart investments. And so I've always been an investor. I started very easily in like mutual funds, talking about like Northwestern Mutual or something like the Fidelity or whatever. But over the course of, I think, 7 years or so, it grew into a nice little pot of money. And so when there was a recession, we bought a house, right? Fixer upper, garage door didn't even go up, right? Didn't go down or up. Um, it
It's just there.
the house smelled like straight up Saint Bernards, right? Because they had like 10 of them. The pre owner had the owner, yeah. Oh my God, we found hair in the stove, like it was just
Oh,
everywhere. And we ended up making, turning $5,000 into 50.
Nice.
Right, and so doing that allows for us to build a home brand new in North Carolina. And doing that in again the pandemic. And so as soon as we start coming out of the pandemic, our home went, gained like 30, I think 40,000 in equity.
Let's go.
And so home ownership is the oldest wealth building strategy in the country. I'm gonna say this one more time. Home ownership
Talk to him.
is the oldest wealth building strategy in the country. And so if you don't own, you are making sure that somebody else is building their wealth, right? You're not investing in yourself, you're investing in them. You don't get that money back when you're renting, right? When you own, you can claim that as on your taxes, right? And so I'm just like, make it make sense, right? Like I'm not about to rent. You know what I'm saying? My wife was like, this house need to make sense. And we found a little happy medium. And thankfully we bought it in a house. And here's a little sidebar for folks who might be catching this. Like if you can buy a house off the highway, right? It doesn't matter if it's not that great of a community. If it's off a highway, there's a likelihood that that community is prospected to be built on. Right? And so all of our homes have been off of highways. And so that's why the resale value has stayed up. And also we built equity really easily because again, if when you're purchasing, you got access to the highway. So that's a little
nugget for you.
Nuggets for y'all. If y'all on the search, right?
Yep.
We appreciate you. I know the wife poking in. Don't want to get you in trouble over there, Mayweather. But appreciate you for tapping in with us. Make sure y'all go follow him on Instagram at Doing the Good Work. Tap in. Also go to his website for more resources. Doingthegoodwork.com. Appreciate you, King.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Okay, Queen.
King.
Queen.
King.
Queen.
King.
Updates for the week. Go ahead and let folks know what's popping over there for you.
We still have our weight loss accountability group for women availability, and it is free. So I know King, you really liked that. I know. But yes, we have accountability is one of the hardest things, and staying consistent is one of the hardest part of a weight loss journey.
Of any journey,
really. So yes, well, we're here to help you out. We check in with each other 3 times a week. I can personally say, as the facilitator in the group, it has helped keep me accountable. I did all my workouts this week because I was like, I can't be the facilitator coming in and being like, I didn't meet my goal. So anyways, it's a great group of women, and we got one person that's lost 7 pounds, got another person who's lost 10 pounds. They are killing the game. So you need to get in this group, and you can go to my Instagram, which is at Theee with 3 E's Health Nerd. And the link in my bio is to sign up for the accountability group. And we also, I'm going to be opening, drum roll please. Thank you. I will be opening enrollment for the 90-day weight loss formula very soon here. So it's definitely pivotal for you to go to queencoaching.com and check out the program and what it has to offer, and sign up to meet with me for 30 minutes. That's all you got to do. It's just give me 30 minutes of your time so I can talk about the program and we can see if you are right for the program, if the program is right for you. It is a 90-day weight loss formula. It's a program where we'll basically take a deep dive into your metabolic health. We will find a very unique weight loss formula and protocol for you. And it's going to have you losing up to 30 pounds, gaining that energy back, and feeling so good that you go back into the closet and you pull out that dress. I know it's dress. We all got that dress, that freakum dress. We all got one. You're gonna feel so good. You're gonna pull that out, and you're gonna be ready to wear it in 3 months. So go to queen2queencoaching.com and sign up for a discovery call because we'll have enrollment opening up soon, very soon, very very soon.
Boom.
So
is there a way that we can get this accountability link on the Queen to Queen website?
We can. It will be.
Yeah, let's just put it there.
It's just not. I had to update the Queen to Queen website. So if people are watching live and they go, I didn't want to say that it's there, but it will be probably by the end of the day. I just have to upload the new website.
Yeah, let's do that because the accountability call, as y'all see, is getting results, right? So we want to make it as easy as possible for y'all to get in this family, get in this group, so that y'all can get that freakum dress, right?
Yeah.
Go to queen2queen.com, sign up, do your thing. On our side, of course, we got the games that are finally here. Thank you for taking off that swan feather. I don't know how that swan feather got swans, there. Right? Hey, it gets wild out here. But go to playblackwallstreet.com. The second edition games are back in stock and they are shipping to families. Of course, the Masterpiece Edition is also available. You can get either at playblackwallstreet.com. Great way to have fun with your family. Great way to learn about the history of Black Wall Street and inspire your own family to be owners and entrepreneurs.
All that
in one game for only $40. Y'all better go to playblackwallstreet.com today and get yourself a game. All right, Queen, you all good?
I'm great.
Yes, you are.
A little hot, but I'm great.
Oh, you a lot hot. Come on now. Come on now. Sizzling. Well, we appreciate y'all as usual for tapping into the M4 podcast, the M4 show. My name is Devon Truvel, creator of Black Wall Street, the board game.
And I'm Sinclair, aka the Health Nerd.
We hope y'all go out there, secure the bag, but secure yourself first.
Yes.
Before you secure the bag, secure yourself, love yourself. The wealth is on the way. All right. Appreciate y'all. We'll see you next time.
The melanated, married millionaires in the making. Peace. Thank you for tuning in to the True Health Forever podcast. We hope you learned something valuable that you can take and implement into your life. Now, we've all heard that sharing is caring, and this podcast is no exception. If you enjoyed this episode, please share it with a friend, a family member, a coworker, a stranger walking down the street, anybody who you think can level up from this message. As always, we appreciate your support, and we'll talk to you next week. Be well.